tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, Ascension fans. I feel like I need to draw it out with this in the background. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're talking about Ascension Night 2 here at AFTERBUZZ TV. I'm your host and captain, Zach Wilson, and I have my fantastic XO, Isaac Johnson. These are the titles we assigned yesterday.
Yes,
Yeah, they
true.
are.
It feels like there's only one black man on the show, and he's the XO. And like, so I felt like,
No, I didn't name myself the XO.
Yeah, as
so,
long as we're
yeah.
not doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh, and
was-
and I'm Jackie.
yeah, and like, you're blonde, but we're not going to make you the head stewardess.
I can be Jackie the
Let's say
stewardess.
there is a Jackie.
There is,
character.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who's vying for head
That
stewardess?
is true.
There's tons of plot lines.
I found out so many fans tweeted us, thank you, or messaged us that XO stands for executive officer
Yes.
Yeah.
and not hugs and kisses.
I kind of prefer hugs and kisses.
Yeah, you wanted to be the hugs and kisses.
Could you not be both? Could
You
you not
could
be an
be
executive who
both.
gives hugs and kisses?
Yes.
That would be everybody's favorite XO.
Be a very encouraging officer.
They're
Get
like,
stuff done.
oh, that XO. He's so
Yeah.
adorable and competent.
Gives
He
the
seems-
best hugs too, Dan.
He seems to be the, well, no, he's not even all on the up and up. He's still messing stuff up in the background because he's messing around with a married lady.
Well, I think that in his defense, since everybody on this show is paired up, it seems like they don't get to be with who they want to be with.
Well, I guess they just have to look forward to, what was it? The first day of Astara,
Yeah.
whatever that is, which they like didn't quite
I
get
assume
into.
that's because they said the birth list selection after that. So I assume that's the like mating situation.
Yeah, but the way they said it, it made it sound like it was a purge. Like it was like the purge, like they're like, anything goes at the first day of Astara.
It's the Hunger Games of birthing.
Like you're just like, it's just like wild orgy times. You just have to let loose
Yes.
and go with it. I guess there's a certain logic to having that like once a year on a
Yeah.
when you're in such a tight space and there's only 600 people ever. And like there's obviously a lot of tensions, like
Well, they
people
started
are,
off as 70. So, I mean, they had. What's interesting to me is like, yeah, I understand the population grows over time, but it grew a lot.
yeah, well, there were 70 scientists.
Oh, we don't know how many
Yeah.
kids there were. Is
We
that-
don't know how many kids, and we don't know how many other people were on there that weren't being tracked. Like, there could have been plenty of janitors. Nobody's like, there's janitors are disappearing. There are 30 farmers that went missing in the summer of 1963. I think they're mainly focused on the scientists.
Probably.
But we're getting into all of this, including Viandra and the captain and Jackie, the other Jackie, not ours, Nora, James, Aaron/Oren. We don't know what he's
Sort
called
out what
anymore.
his name actually is.
All of that. But I want to start with God himself, Harris.
Oh, Harris.
Yeah.
Because
I want to see more of his bratty teenage child. The
Yeah.
the one who I thought was
Oh,
texting DTF,
the
but
one-
was actually texting like.
the one who was texting DIAF,
Yeah.
which is even weirder.
Right? I was like, why aren't you texting DTF? Weird child.
He was texting die in a fire, which was like, whoa.
Which is weird because now it's like you think, okay, is he being like why? It's
I
like
think-
a weird link to the fact that there was a fire on that ship.
And maybe that's why he reacts that way.
Yeah.
I guess I could see that. It was so swept under.
Yeah, maybe that's why Harris reacts that way. I think the kid
Yeah,
was just
no, that's what
talking
yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah. But it's like weird that like the kid isn't really brought up again.
No.
But that was like such a weird, it felt like it was an important moment. But I guess that could probably be why he's like, hurt by the fact that you're making jokes about dying in a fire.
Yeah.
Because he very much like what we get in this episode is Harris dealing with the fact that he's creepily in love with these people on the ship.
Yeah, I mean, we said it yesterday. I'm still getting a lot of like Truman Show, like the creator.
More
type,
so now,
which
yeah.
also like odd that his name is Harris and that was played by Ed Harris. I don't know if there's any connection.
But this,
there.
I mean, there is a certain level of, when you think about it, like when you are involved in that voyeurism, you've made almost like celebrities out of those people. So like people who watch television shows idolize people in a certain way. So I feel like that's kind of what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I know Tom Hanks. Like he's my best friend. I don't know Tom Hanks. I never met him. I just see him on TV a bunch.
Yeah, and I mean, his right-hand man guy, it's like, it's the best reality TV show that never was. It's like, it really is the Truman Show, but like massively bigger, where you're not just focused on one guy. The entire 600 people are just like there for like basically, it feels like for their entertainment.
Yeah,
and there have been other shows like Homeland kind of touched on that, like being a voyeur, but then falling in love with the person you're voyeuring on, that you're viewing. And Scandal did that too, and like, was it season 2 or 3, where people become obsessed with their subjects, and to a certain level that like where Harris is actually like stealing the seashell necklace and making her be the doctor.
It's pretty much like celebrity, like stalker culture. Pretty much like we fall in love with certain people that we've never met, and then we meet them and we freak out.
And we find like people to date that remind us in one way or another of those people that we've become attached to. And there's a certain thing.
Zach pointed out she looks like the doctor.
She looks creepy. I think Isaac,
I wasn't sure if it wasn't the same actress for a minute there. I was like, is it the same person?
That would be even creepier. He like separated twins, fell in love with one while watching her growing up, and then went and married the other one. I think they just happened to look a lot alike, and so he went out and like fell in love with a woman who looks like this woman that he effectively grew up alongside.
Right.
But he was just creepily. He was the creepy neighbor kid who's watching through the windows as she changes.
Yeah, but he can't get to her, and I wonder if he wishes that he were part of Ascension.
Well,
I feel like that's true.
Yeah.
I feel like that's true.
He definitely wants to, and he's vicariously sort of living also through his man on the inside.
Yeah.
At that point, because he married off his man on the inside to the woman that he's basically obsessed with.
So, you think we're confirmed for sure that the doctor's husband is the man on the inside?
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, that's what?
Because he was the. Yeah, he was the one that grabbed.
So he must have killed Lorelai for a reason.
Well, we don't know that he killed Lorelai.
Yeah, we don't know that for sure.
I wouldn't necessarily jump to that conclusion because who knows what else was going on.
Right.
Right. But we do. I mean, that was. I'll just say someone predicted that last night. Not gonna say who it was.
No, don't.
It was me. Well, because I figured there had to be some guy on the inside.
Credit where credit's due. That's a good call.
But like, we did see that it was Bryce because obviously he's like, we have our man on the inside to do the thing, and then he I guess we didn't see the cut on his arm after he chased Christa around.
But she knew, like, he gave her the injection later, like
right.
The BS, like his wife was busy. Like, no, he had to go in and do that.
What's really interesting to me too, though, is like Harris makes this deal about how this is the first time in 50 years that there's been a murder, and apparently this is the first time in 50 years that there's been this much turmoil in general. But he claims, he's like, oh, they're so innocent, and I feel like he latches on to the doctor's innocence and seems to kind of like ignore all the rest of the like weird like sexual stuff. Not weird, but it's just like everybody else is like slutty and sleeping with each other, and they have like call girls.
No,
how is everybody innocent?
It's
so
weird.
Confused.
I want to say it is weird. This is a society that's like, I mean, I guess it's very much Mad Men in a lot of ways. It's like everybody's sleeping around. Pretty much everybody knows about it, but nobody openly acknowledges it, even though they're aware that every single person involved knows what's happening.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, and what you're saying too, like I guess like Harris is like, oh, they're pure, but then they have like all the class struggle and like how and like even like them using like that term Decker was like probably like some sort of like terrible slur in their world, So yeah, like that. They have like the prostitution thing going on. They have the arranged marriages. And it's like, it's not really that pure of a society. It's just like, it's a controlled society to him. So to him, maybe that's pure.
Yeah, I guess that they're pure in the sense that they are all working towards a goal.
Sure.
And he sort of sees, by locking these people away, this is, in a sense, humanity at its purest. Whether that's not pure in the sense of good or bad, but pure in the sense of like, this is what humanity is. This is humanity boiled down to its finest point. We separate ourselves into class systems. We hate for no reason. We sleep around. We like game to get to the top, and we ultimately are. And we're like driving ahead the civilization at the same time.
Sure.
There's this goal to save the human race,
Which I found interesting because this actually does turn out to be like a divergent kind of thing where they are literally trying to like build the smartest possible people by stealing all those basically scientists and other smart people.
Well, I would say that the scientists did that voluntarily, and the accidents. Let's talk about the whole conspiracy, the 6370 as they're called.
Yeah.
That they're all basically, there's this long track of like that year 70 scientists died mysteriously in one accident or another, with no explanation to like why they all did, but they each one is like a car accident, a plane crash, like somewhat like just the world sucks, like that happens,
right?
But in this case, basically Harris's thing, you're assuming that just because this is there that they didn't volunteer. To me, it makes total sense. Like, if you're trying to get these guys on a secret government mission that no one is supposed to know about, and they agree to leave the planet, they're not going to care that... I mean, maybe they might care a little, but if that's just the way it has to be, their deaths have to be faked to get them outside of society so that people don't suspect.
There was an implication, though, that they were sent... Like, they agreed to do this under false pretenses, though.
That's or Eva, who the conspiracy theorist. That's her thing. I'm not sure how true it is.
Well, I mean, they effectively were under false pretenses because they thought they were getting launched into space on this 100-year journey.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And now they're just sitting in a tube in like a warehouse, and I don't know where they are.
Van Nuys, I think.
In that one shot, like I thought that was the LA skyline, but I'm not sure.
It could be the LA skyline, but then again, I'm looking at the sign and I was like, what is the 62 freeway? That's not a thing.
I just saw Fifth Avenue and was like, oh, the Fifth Avenue exit. That's...
Yeah, it's probably just Canada.
It's probably Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
look
it's
like
just Vancouver.
SyFy does almost all of their stuff somewhere in Canada or like
and I think this one for sure is shot in Canada. So.
Yeah. Well, because most of it's just in a warehouse.
Yes, exactly.
It's all on set. But anyway, so our new character this week, Samantha Krueger, who her introduction was, can we just say it, a little bit bizarre?
Yes.
She walks in like she's gonna be an outside investigator from what's in Catherine. Totally get it. Yeah. Makes sense. You bring in somebody outside because she knows something's up with Harris.
Right.
But what did you guys think of how she was Samantha was introduced to us? It was very wonky.
It was the wonkiest part to me actually was not the scene where she kind of gets forced onto the guy by the woman who's trying to check and balance him. That made sense to me. It's like, okay, she wants her inside person to like investigate him. I get that. The wonky part was when they go out there and he just like turns to her and flat out is like, "You're a homosexual." I was like, wait, what? What? Like, granted, there are some people who like have gaydar and they can like figure certain things out. Who says that to someone's face?
You don't think Harris has gaydar?
In fairness, he didn't actually say that she was gay, what he was like leading towards, like, we don't have any, and then she's like, what, people like me? Like, he didn't actually say anything. Who knows where he was going with that sentence?
I gotta think that's where he was going. He seemed to sort of be alluding, we don't have any of, well...
Because she seemed pretty, like, perturbed when she was like, oh, people like me? And then he's like, yeah, homosexuals. And then I did think it was funny, that line where she's like, well, we find a way.
We pop up where you least expect it.
It's like there's probably a few of us in there.
Which I feel like is probably leading that, like, somebody is going to be gay, like some person on the ship. I don't know who that would be. My first thought is James. Just because that would be the most dramatic person to turn out to be gay.
Yeah.
But he was dating Lorelai.
Yeah, he's been dating a couple.
But everyone was dating Lorelai, so.
Yeah.
Well, and he's also like, kind of like with Nora, so I don't know. I wouldn't imagine him.
Yeah.
Maybe I forgot the name of the officer who beat him up. Yeah, Rawls. Maybe he will be gay.
I mean, he's hitting on Nora pretty hard.
Maybe he's just trying to prove something, though, because he's hitting on her in public places.
Possibly. Who knows? I mean, there isn't necessarily a person I think is gay, nor does it matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's why I jumped to the only real relationship-y part, because that's the only place where it could cause drama.
Right.
Like, not because, like, oh, it's a gay person, everyone freak out, but because, like, she likes him.
Right.
But anyway, the only problem I had with that scene, I thought that Harris's justification, not that it's right, but it made sense when you're analyzing all of this on a very scientific basis.
Yes.
Like,
right. The whole idea of like procreation and
that's
they
why
have to keep them alive. He's like, well, anyone who can't, I guess, replicate or whatever the right word is, like that they're not useful in this social experiment.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why they have them married off too, because it's like, you must procreate with this person, and I assume that's part of what they mean by like choosing birth mothers.
Yeah, well, I assume that they're for the most part, analyzing people's DNA versus about how they're going to match up, how they're most positively going to drive forward this group of people, to benefit the whole.
Well, they do mention that it's like a genetic experiment too. And I guess like we talked yesterday about like that, like, well, how aren't there more of them? It's like, well, they have implants and they have this whole like right of reproduction thing. So it's like, you can tell it's a very controlled society. But I didn't think that like, well, yeah, obviously, I guess it has to be that way if they're trying to get people to be the smartest people and build the best tech, apparently, like we have all these inventions and whatnot because of
they invented the MRI. And it makes sense, like most of this stuff has come out of NASA.
That's true.
So it fits. Before we get completely off of Samantha, my main issue with that whole exchange of like calling her gay is that it doesn't seem to drive any other part of the story,
right? Other than to get
I just like why did we need to call that out? I'm just hearing like the like old Peanuts, like no gays allowed. Like that was it. That was like all I heard, and then we moved on and forgot about that plot line. So unless it's gonna come back,
it better come back. Otherwise, it's like, why did you do that?
But lots of other stuff
in
going
a
on
significant way, and not just coming back like, oh, another person references that she's gay, like coming back in a way that maybe her and the woman who hired her in a relationship or something. Coming back in a meaningful way that shows some sort of plot development. Well,
she's mainly there to investigate the murder.
Right.
And now the explosion as well.
Right.
Because that quickly happens where a bomb goes off.
Well, we're led to believe that she's there for that, but obviously from Director Warren, like she's obviously there for another reason. Yeah,
well, she's there because they're not sure what's going on with this project. They know that Harris is up to something, that there's something else going on. They just don't know what. And they can't prove anything. And we see very clearly as they're going through their investigation that there's more.
Right.
But the main other thing that like we only got a bit of, so I want to touch on real quick, is Stokes.
Yes.
They say he's had a psychotic break.
As you can imagine,
I mean, what we couldn't figure out was if he had this break because he realizes where he is and he's mad, or he's just his mind is just so blown, like he doesn't know what's going on, if he's dead, if he's alive, if he's in heaven, if he's in hell, whatever.
Well, he does ask that question, or like when she comes in to talk to him, she says, "Do you know where you are?" And he says, "I'm in hell." I was kind of, well, does he really think he's in hell? I mean,
he might.
I mean, I guess we don't personally have any context for knowing that like your entire life has been a lie, not unlike the Matrix or something like that. But like, what would he actually believe in this situation, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's very Plato's cave. He's been led to believe one thing his entire life. That's all he ever knew. And then he's been just removed from it. Anybody would have a psychotic break.
Yeah.
If you suddenly found out that we're actually on a giant spaceship, not on Earth, you freak out.
Yeah.
If you reverse the situation. But I guess the question of where do you know where you are, which is supposed to be like that like baseline question to like tell if somebody's like okay, is really not the way to go in this situation, because he probably legitimately doesn't. He's like, you tell me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do I know what's anything? I thought I was on a spaceship. I'm not on a spaceship. What's outside of the spaceship? I don't know.
And it's like they're not having. I think the piece of this story that disappointed me a little was I was hoping that. Of course, there's the initial reaction of like him freaking out and wanting to like be angry, and that all makes sense. But by the end of the episode, there doesn't seem to be any sort of attempt by our ground Earth team to give him any progress, nor attempt on his behalf for any progress. And of course, it's not entirely up to him.
Sure.
But it's just as viewers, you're like, well, this guy's one of the most interesting storylines here. We have the fish out of water scene. I want to see what happens with him.
Yeah, no, I can totally agree with that. I was like, well, I really want to know what's going on with him. Like, his perspective is going to be the best. And also, like, why isn't he trying to piece it together? Like, you're angry. We get it, fella. Let's see a counselor or something and work this out, I know a guy if you need one. But, like, like, I feel like as a character, he should be trying to figure out, like, what the heck is going on? All he says is that I want to kill everyone. So I totally agree. Like, he's like, I want to kill you all, and that's it. I'm like, cool. I don't think you're going to do that. I don't know if you can kill all of them. There's probably a lot more of them than you. So.
Yeah, to fairness, we didn't really, to be fair, rather, we didn't really get much with him.
Right.
We just got a little bit at the beginning, a little bit at the end. So in the middle, he's probably trying to work out exactly what's going on. And then hopefully next week.
I'm sure we will. It would just been nice to see it, because it was like, oh, this is probably obviously it was the biggest twist at the end of the thing, seeing him, fly through there and then land on the pad. So it's like, oh, let's pick up with his story. Like, nope, we're gonna go to all these other stories that are cool, but nowhere near as cool as his story would have been.
Yeah. Well, talking about the cool stories, let's talk about Christa.
Yeah.
And the ridiculousness of like this psychic little like demon child who's running around the ship.
She's powerful, like in the sense that she could cause her own explosion and psychic. So,
yeah, like last week we just usually I'm used to saying last week.
Yeah,
yesterday we got just the littlest bit of like maybe she's special when she was like, the red star means death, the blue star means life.
Right. We should go towards the blue star.
Which I don't know what that means, because there's no stars.
Oh, and the Globus that's watching them, she knows that was the brand of the camera that is watching them.
Yeah, well, and also we've got her like okay, it's 63 when they go in, which is pretty sure before the Kennedy assassination. So she says like about the woman in the pink and holding her husband's head.
Wait, was he assassinated in 64
maybe? It was after.
Yeah.
I think it was 63, but it would have been after they launched.
So she knew a bunch of events that
she knew that. She knew 9/11. I think there was like maybe one other.
She mentioned the Iraq War.
Yeah, like
a war,
which is like kind of like, was that political commentary there?
Right, I felt like that never ends.
That was like the writers like, yeah, we're getting into modern commentary, you guys.
Yeah, we got Bush. Got him with that one. I was like, that's interesting.
It's like, whoa, calm it down.
So she knows that. She knows that I guess the camera company is probably called Globus. That's probably like, like Samsung or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's like you attach the name to just what you see, and all she sees. We don't know how she sees the camera. Mm-hmm. I mean, the ship is like weirdly loaded with like high-tech digital cameras.
Yeah.
Do they just have regular radiation storms where they knock everyone out
and then they
go
put in new
installing
cameras? See, I was wondering about that too, because I was also thinking about how they create the outside environment. And I was thinking, back in... Speaking of, they have John Wayne in this episode, and back in old-timey westerns, you had the backdrop versus it's like, now we actually can film on location. So you're like, or we can film on green screen, as a lot of people do. So I'm like, did they have like the John Wayne version of space around them in the 60s? And then they just keep doing these like blackouts to like update it. And suddenly like future generations are like, man, space is looking more spacey lately. Space has evolved and looks so much better than when we left.
Well, they're moving through the solar, like, wow, our solar system looks really two-dimensional and painted. But once we got out to like the Andromeda galaxy, everything looks way more 3D. Maybe. It's clear. There's no pixel distortion.
Well, at one point, like they did like move like a camera through it to show that it's like some sort of hologram or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly some kind of projection. I think we can assume that they had some kind of way of making it look like that from the inside.
Right.
I would totally buy that, though, that at first it was like painted backgrounds, and then eventually it was like, like the glow.
You got a guy back there like shaking the
it's like the
backdrop.
The stars that glow after you've had the lights on for a certain amount of time.
Well, I wonder if at the beginning, who was in on it? Like how many of the scientists might have been fully in on what was happening.
Interesting, yeah.
Because it could have totally been that like 20 scientists or even all 70 scientists were totally on board with what was happening and just were all under the agreement of we're not telling a soul. We're going to live out our lives on this ship and just pass this on to the next generation to carry. I doubt it. It's way more intense.
Yeah, it feels like because if they were lured there under false pretenses, they were probably lured there under the idea, and this relates to the actual idea in the 60s was to build this ship to get away from like nuclear war. So maybe that's what they thought. It's like they were part of this like mission to see if humanity could thrive somewhere else.
Sure. I would kind of buy maybe that some of them knew or more of them knew.
Yeah, it could be like a small handful.
Yeah, well, because I guess what exactly would they have this whole like, we're right about at the point of no return sort of thing. So it's like, well, they're obviously not really traveling anywhere. So is the point of no return maybe when this generation has grown up enough to where they just fully buy all this stuff because they don't know the outside world? So maybe that's it. And it's like, well, at this point, we're really going to see if this thing can work because now, like, most of the older generation has died off. It's all
I don't think there's anyone. At least they haven't established anyone who was alive on Earth, knowingly.
Right.
On Earth.
I mean, maybe the guy that Viandra's sleeping with. I mean, he seems to be like the oldest guy we've seen.
Yeah, he seems to be the oldest guy, but
we know the kids. Like some of the kids are still alive. Like, wasn't Olivia one of the original kids?
Ophelia.
That's what.
Was she?
Yeah. No, well, that's when Eva is talking to Krueger about like like all these kids that went missing from the scientists. She was like, well, this could be the person, and they're like, well, we're not sure because she looks a little different. Her face
blink and you'll miss it.
Because they were 6, so that would make her like 57, right?
Yeah, which works. I guess she could be in her 50s. Yeah, especially TV in her 50s.
Right,
yeah.
TV in her 50s.
Is that a thing? I think.
Black don't crack? You
never heard that.
Geez.
You've never heard that?
No. Oh, jeez.
How old do you think I am, Zach?
I'm not going to play this game.
I'm 54.
Oh, Jesus.
It just makes me think of 30 Rock.
Yeah.
They have a great joke sequence about this.
It's a pretty common saying.
Yeah. Anyway, but so just to wrap up with Christa and Ophelia, because they're having their own crazy adventures. Right. I knew he was death.
Right.
Like, so she blows up like a science thing while she's being chased by this guy in the I think you called it a beekeeper costume.
I thought I was gonna say I thought of it as like the costume from Back to the Future.
That was what it reminded me of. Yes.
Oh,
I am your density.
Yeah, man. Well, I just thought that was interesting that it's like, well, okay, I guess if she's pushed hard enough, she can, I guess, make something explode, and that really excites Harris to be like, I don't know what she is, but she's fascinating, that whole kind of thing. So it's like, I feel like I guess that's the whole point of them going up there, was to see if we could advance the human race, and that's the whole, like, it's the hope of mankind, or whatever.
We could advance the human race to have, like, psychic abilities, apparently?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that seems to be, like, what they're shooting for. And it's like, what are the extent of her powers? What else can she do?
Yeah.
Other than apparently see cameras that no one else can see, and, make things explode. And also
not take her medicine.
Yeah, not take her medicine.
Yeah, I guess it's just a question of, like, what is it, like, she's the best chance we have. What is it? Is it that they think that humanity is going to go extinct, so we need to evolve? So this is like sort of forced evolution of some kind?
Yeah.
They're clearly playing with her genetics. There was one other guy in 83 who was similar to her, he was much older, but he had a similar thing happen, and where he stopped taking the inoculations, and he got really sick really quick. So I guess I'm like, where are we? It's a big question of where we're going with this show, because like with these twists, I read in an interview that with somebody that I think it was on Daily Mail or something, that the producers have a 5-year plan, like a 5-season plan in place for this show. So clearly there's more to happen. It's like going to unfold in ways that like when you answer one question, like what are they trying to experiment on? It just opens up a door of other huge questions.
Yeah.
Like
there's just no way that we can wrap it up in one more episode. Like there's too much there's too much world building, which I think is cool. And I'm really interested to see where it goes, but it's like they'd have to wrap things up really quickly to end it in one more 2-hour episode. Yeah,
absolutely. And I want to touch briefly on what Ophelia was muttering.
Yeah,
Repeto. And the only thing I could find when I like quickly looked that up before we came in,
French ballet.
Yeah, exactly. I somehow don't think that's where we're going with this.
I don't think so.
Unless it's like something from her childhood.
Yeah, that, it totally could be.
They tried to wipe out her childhood. I mean, we know that they like to roofie children.
Right. That's interesting, too, because children... they all thought that they boarded the ship to go somewhere, but I don't know. Like, maybe they did wipe their memories.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, who knows how... We don't really know quite how young they were. I guess she was 6.
Yeah.
I thought most of them were 6 when they entered
the kids of the scientists were.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I hope that we get more from that, because it's definitely, like, obviously Christa is going to be a major part of this show.
Right.
But I don't want to lose track of all the other stuff going on, because our like cast of characters is fantastic and huge, and there's still lots to talk about with all of that. Yes. Now that we've talked about all the Earth side stuff. But before we do that, I want to quickly talk to you guys about iTunes. So guys, thank you again so much for watching this quick little mini series that we're doing, and it means the world to us that you're watching. It really does help every time you go onto iTunes, every time you hit us with a rating, a review, and hit the subscription button. It helps AFTERBUZZ keep the lights on. It helps keep this show going. It helps us keep bringing you 90 shows a week. 90. That's an insane number. That is more to watch each show and then listen to all the podcasts. You would have to make it a triple full-time job. That's insanity.
Yes.
So to keep that coming, the best way you can help is to go onto iTunes, subscribe, rate, share, all that stuff. I do want to give, because it's a quick show and iTunes doesn't really update immediately, so there's really not a lot of time to get your reviews. I do want to give some shout out to our YouTube.
Yeah,
fans.
We have some YouTube writers.
Yeah, Langley M. Neely.
Familiar faces.
Yeah, Langley M. Neely, big fan. Shout out to you, Langley. He says, I don't think they're tinkering with the crew by removing and stuff and planting guns. Sorry, you're wrong now.
Yeah.
I think it's someone or a group of someone's trying to screw with the ship's mission. We saw a little bit of that with Dwight.
Yeah,
because he's up to something.
And he oh my gosh, he was an unclaimed. That's what they called him.
Yes.
Unclaimed.
Oh yeah, that whole concept.
Which I wanted to get into that because that's a whole crazy possibility that we like. It has such massive implications about what the hell's going on this ship.
Sure.
But yeah, so thank you, Ron Simpkins, Andrew Fedge, Steve Feinstein, Philip Wiley, Mark W. I'm just going to give quick shout outs. Mark W., one of the people who let us know that XO means executive officer.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And Tiffany F., who's very excited that we're covering this show. We're excited too, Tiffany.
Yes.
But thank you guys all for watching, commenting, and please go on to the iTunes. So let's dive back in. So let's talk about Dwight real quick because Galt, who, okay, according to IMDb, his name is Oren.
Oren, yes.
According to the closed captions and what it sounds like, his name is Aaron.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one is right anymore.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I'm being presented with one reality, but there's a real whole other reality going on.
Oh wait, that's just like the show, man.
Just get us a name, somebody.
Yeah.
Please help.
Oren, Aaron.
We're just gonna call him Galt because that's less confusing somehow. But so he's investigating further after this bombing, and they know that it's a bomb because they see the no future written there, and I guess it is this
Because you gotta leave a calling card.
Yeah, idiot. Yeah. But they quickly find him because somebody has to be keeping track of that stuff, and it's like crime 101, guy. Come on.
Right.
This is what happens when you don't watch Law and Order.
There's not a lot of crime or or anything like that on the ship. So.
Dwight is clearly not a mastermind. He was like, if I hit him with this crowbar and run, I will be safe.
On this small ship of 600 people. But he does, I think his plan is
I think it was a wrench, maybe.
Yeah, it was a monkey wrench, I think.
I think his plan is to blow up the entire ship and just completely kill the mission.
But
But he's dead now.
Does that imply that he knows something about what's going on?
Or maybe he's just angry about being the fact that his father didn't claim him, and the fact that he's part of the lower class on the ship.
Yeah, well, he claims that it's because they killed his father, Stokes, which he says his father is Stokes, and I guess that's something that only Stokes and him know.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But the fact... Well, go ahead.
I was just say that I guess because they have this population control sort of thing going on that he was just a secret birth that no one knew about. So that's why he's unclaimed. So I think that... I don't know that Stokes is not claiming him, but he's an unclaimed because they don't have any genetic code for him. Yeah,
but how... I guess we got a little bit of how they're keeping track of... Or how they're preventing it. They have the little... Implants.
Yeah.
I don't even remember... I don't know what those things are called. But they are real in use today.
Yeah.
So maybe they were invented on the ship.
Maybe.
Again, just more technology coming out of locking a bunch of scientists away for 50 years. Maybe we should do it.
Yeah.
Get even better iPads.
I know.
Faster.
A bigger iPhone, maybe.
They don't need any help with that.
Yeah. I don't think so. No.
But I guess how would somebody get pregnant and not want somebody know about it? There's only 500 other people.
I mean, they would rip out the implant and then so you would know who the mom is.
They could get pregnant, but how do they? He couldn't be unclaimed, or is that just
No, it's unclaimed by the dad. So it's you have a birth mother, but then it's you're basically a bastard.
Oh yeah.
It's a polite way of saying
no one knows
that
it's Stokes besides him and whoever.
Okay, maybe it's unclaimed paternally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I took it to mean, because you can't unclaim it maternally. There's no way.
Well, that's what I was confused about, but that makes sense because it's still a mother claiming him. It's not like he's completely unclaimed.
Yeah.
But okay, so lots to talk about. We can move on from that.
Sure.
I mean, he goes.
But also, I thought before we move on, his death scene, that was interesting to me too, because you have what's the blonde woman's name?
Viandra?
Catherine.
Okay.
Samantha.
Oh, Samantha. There's
Samantha.
a couple blonde women on the show.
So Samantha is saying, like, why, like, they're fighting, someone's gonna die, like, why don't you step in and stop that? And he's like, oh no, we have to, like, let science take its course, which is another interesting thing, because it's like he's clearly stepping in to save people when it suits his needs.
Sure.
So he has this guy on the inside step in to give the inoculations to Christa, and he, like...
Well, he doesn't care about Galt or...
Right. So it's like his excuse to be like, oh, science must happen or whatever. We have to let this experiment not tamper with it. But it's like, dude, you've been tampering with it the whole time.
Well, that's because I don't think that it really is a sociological experiment. I think it's something completely different. It is more so than that. Like, I guess that's a piece of it, sociological, but more so it's genetic experiment. And whatever they've been building to, whatever it is that Christa is becoming, has been the point of the entire mission. So they need, like, you sacrifice a little bit of the sociological experiment to help the genetic one, because you could lose one XO and one deckhand and the mission goes on. You can't lose, like, the key piece of your entire experiment for the second time.
Sure.
Which I guess is, in a sick way, reasonable. It's that sick, like, he talking about dispassionate that his father taught him. Like, he has to think of these not as people, but as lab rats.
Right.
Because it's the only way he can perform the experiment is to remove his compassion from the equation. But, so, okay, again, lots of stuff when we're running low on time.
Right.
Viandra and the captain and the whole stewardess stuff. We got, like, Nora's friend. Don't remember her name. Presley. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joining up. And we're like, no.
Don't do it.
You're just going to be a prostitute.
Yeah, but everyone's really excited about it.
I know. They're all like, yay, you get to be a prostitute.
Yeah, and they're openly, like, aware that they're prostitutes, right?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely a thing. I mean, but, like, at her, like, I guess, prostitute party or whatever you want to call that, like, I don't know.
But I mean, there is this happens in the real world. Like, when madams had houses, the girls wanted to be part of the best houses. They didn't want to be part of, like, Madame Shlomo's, like, shitty house.
No, I just don't know that, like, you as a friend of whoever your friend is, like, when they decide to, like, jump into prostitution, you're like, oh my gosh, you did such a good job. And that's what she did after she got off the piano, and was like, you really riled up the old men.
Yeah, you really sat on that creepy old dude's lap well.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's so weird. But I guess, like, again, it was the 60s when this thing was put together, and it's sort of without any outside influence, without, like, new music driving it forward, new artistic, new all the people that drove forward, like, a lot of the, like, women's liberation stuff, like, all those factors, it just sort of stays mostly stagnant.
Yeah.
Fashion evolves a little bit on board, which is why we had the thong discussion.
And now that I find out that we recycle clothing, I am a little bit bitter that the clothes don't look a little bit more worn, because they were saying that, like, they were giving away Lorelai's outfits to be recycled.
Yeah, so they can be made into the clothes.
They're really, really good at recycling.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah, so my thing with the captain and Viandra is that there's a complete double standard here. And normally on TV, like, you see it the other way around, where it's like the man can do what he wants and then the woman can't. But, like, Viandra, it's very well known that she is the madam, and that she's, you know, with, like, what, Rose, the older guy, and, like, and all this stuff. But, like, the minute that she finds out that he's got somebody on the side, she's like, she feels betrayed. And I'm like, why does she feel betrayed?
But I think this boils down to the fact that we had people talking about it on YouTube, whether or not they actually love each other. And I think, like, this was she at least loves him.
I think they legitimately love each other. I think that it is...
They're like a creepy team.
Yeah, they're like, they both are well aware that what they're doing by sleeping around is absolutely necessary.
Sure.
Like, she has to go sleep with Rose and whatever in order to maintain their political power, to keep their spy network up. He sleeps with Jackie for the same extent. I don't think either of them wants the other one sleeping around, but so they get uncomfortable because they both look really uncomfortable whenever like the other one comes back from an encounter that they know they were sleeping around. They both hate it, but they both are well aware that it is necessary.
Sure, I get that, but he doesn't look like he likes it either. But he just kind of like puts up with it, whereas she's just like visibly angry and like, how could you like betray me? And she says this thing about loyalty, where it's like, isn't she doing the same thing? I don't understand exactly why it's okay for her, and like he doesn't like it, but he's kind of like, okay.
I think she senses. I think she senses an emotional connection between him and Jackie, whereas he knows that it's purely like she's doing it as a physical thing, like she's doing it to serve them,
means to an end.
Yeah,
I guess so. I still don't fully buy that she loves him. I think that it's more of like she sees him as a powerful piece in her puzzle somehow, and that if he gives, like, say if he gives himself to Jackie, or like if it's like an emotional thing, then she could lose him and lose the power that she has over him, rather than that she actually cares about him in that way.
Well, that makes sense. I guess the way that it's built on 60s society, women wouldn't be eligible for captainship.
Yeah.
But she very much could run, like we see her, the way she runs her team, she could probably run the ship.
Yeah, well, and she's kind of more controlling him than anyone else, and
Yeah, that moment where she like, I mean, it backfired on her big time, but where she's like,
where she fires Jackie,
where she fires her, and then it's like, where are you going? You have to finish the massage.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Whoa. Trisha Hafler is a great actress.
Yeah, she is.
Also, great looking in a bikini. I'm just gonna say it.
There's no complaint about seeing her in a bikini. I also like, and this may be like way off base, but like, just in that knowing that there have to be some people on the ship that maybe know ultimately what's going on, or at least I think there has to be. I kind of wonder if she maybe has an idea
that it might be fake.
I don't know.
If she did, I feel like she would be like rioting, like with her personality.
Not if she gets to be in this sort of like ultra sort of fake society that she can control, because it seems like control is a big issue for her, and that she just wants to have more power or something like that. I just sort of like that moment where they're sitting on the couch and kind of talking to each other, and she's talking about like the bomb that went off and how like they have to cover it up. I'm just kind of wondering, like, does she, I don't know, I could be way off, but does she want to keep him in power so that she can still have power, but if she existed in the outside world, that she wouldn't be able to manipulate society like this?
I think if she got dropped into if she was aware, she would be vying to get into that outside world and gain power there.
Yeah.
Because she mentioned, like, there's that like moment where she's sort of staring off into the void, and she's just like, we're heroes.
That's what I'm saying. For some reason, that moment to me was, I just got like an inkling of like, maybe she knows. I
think what you're feeling there is that she doesn't necessarily believe in the mission.
Right.
Like, she doesn't believe that they're by any means heroes, because she sees the horribleness that is going on the ship, the backstabbing, the sleeping around, that she's very much a part of driving. So she doesn't feel like they're heroes at all. They're not good people. They're just on this mission that she will never complete. As like the captain said last night,
the first and the last.
Yeah, the people will remember the people that left and the people that got there, but they won't give two craps about the people in the middle. And that's them. They're the people in the middle.
Right.
And I think Viandra very much understands that and accepts it and hates it. Hates that she cannot leave a mark on history, really. All she is just the middleman getting between the generation that left and the generation that arrived. So she does what she can with what little she has. She doesn't have a lot. So let's talk. Let's move on and talk briefly about unless you guys have any other thoughts on Victoria or Viandra, which with the name, I guess that's the last thing. I feel like it makes sense. It's like a weird name. Yeah. But again, they've been locked in space for 50 years.
Where did they find the name Viandra?
They probably someone probably made it up. They're like, I don't know. We don't have any other things to do on this ship. Let's come up with some crazy baby names.
That's it. Well, with the point of like not having things to do, you would think that they're like creating their own literature or their own like art in some way. And I'm like, why don't we talk about that? Because they're like, this came up when the captain was watching the John Wayne movie. I was like, why aren't they creating their own like entertainment as well? Because humans have done that for forever. It's like, you think you would get bored of the same old stuff and start making your own.
I guess they don't have good cameras on board. They just have the...
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't even have to do that. They could do like a variety show.
I think that's what the captain's lounge is. But you're right. I mean, maybe it probably is there and we're just not seeing it yet.
Yeah.
We've only had effectively time-wise 4 episodes. Right. So like they just haven't delved into that world yet.
Well, maybe just because they're all like focused on like their specific jobs. Like you work below deck, you do this. You're the captain, you do this. And if you're one of the call girls, I guess this is what you do.
But you have to have downtime. They can't spend it all at the beach.
Yeah. The one location that only ever has 3 people there.
No, remember when it was really hot, they all went there.
True.
We had a ton of people running around where Presley just like walked by and like, I wasn't considered for your apprenticeship program. Then wiggles her butt as she walks away. And she goes over to join Nora and and go through their whole storyline. Nora, first of all, I think Nora's real cute. I'm just gonna say
she is really cute. I like her bangs.
Yeah. I like the bangs are great at like making her look like this like child,
right?
Effectively, because we're treating her like a little girl,
right?
Like she has dreams. She's gonna be a terraformer. She doesn't want to be a doctor like her mom. And
she wants to marry the boy from below deck who's trying to work harder.
And he's moving his way up. He got himself into the officer program.
Yeah.
He's got his little suit.
He's still drinking the copious amounts of alcohol that they seem to have on the ship.
Yeah, where are they getting all this liquor?
Like, how do they have an alcohol making like section?
They have to have a distillery. The way they're putting this stuff away, there has to be a distillery on board,
definitely.
which feels like the most wasteful thing you could. Like,
we weren't allowed to smoke anymore on this boat, on this ship.
No, they were though. They were smoking
in
the
flashback, but nobody smokes in the current time. So my guess is
we just haven't seen it yet, but they could still smoke.
Probably not. If only because of like TV standards.
Maybe it's sci-fi though. I figure like it's cable.
Yeah, but like you get rated harder if you have positive characters smoking nowadays, unless it's in a flashback, which is allowed. That's why how Mad Men gets away with it, because it's time appropriate, it's period appropriate. But in the modern era, it's not okay. Yeah. And this is a weird middle ground, so that I don't even know what's happening. With the
but
TV
they can
ratings.
drink a lot, apparently.
They can drink all you want. They just can't smoke a cigarette.
Yeah. And back on Earth, it's okay if you're in the evidence room, if you're drinking the evidence from the evidence room.
Yeah, the guy just doesn't care. Like, insanity.
Yeah. I do like that, though. That was a smart move on her part to be like, hey, have some of this grain alcohol, get drunk and forget I'm here.
Yeah, I did wonder how she knew it was there, but...
No, we established in the last episode that he tells her,
It was at the beginning of this week, this night. But back to Nora and James. Yes. So Nora's getting hit on by Rawls, this like beefy like dick of an officer who just like... There's a straight up mud wrestling scene, guys.
Yes.
There was a mud wrestling scene.
Yes, there was.
Not the one I wanted to see, but
it wasn't. I don't know, Jackie. How did you enjoy the mud wrestling?
Two guys like beating the shit out of each other in the mud is just not attractive to me.
It's not the part that you enjoy.
No.
But you gotta show the classes, like physically fighting.
Yeah,
that's gonna be part of this like pressure.
I mean, Rawls calls him a decker, like really, but in a really dirty way, where like
well, that's why I said it was probably like it's almost like their version of some sort of like racial slur.
Yeah, absolutely, no question. And he gets mad and he hits him because it's like it's giving somebody a negative term just for a thing that they can't control. They're born into that life, and so that's it's basic racism right there.
Right.
So, but like as we go forward, like Nora's getting like some lipstick on from Presley, and Rawls is like wiping it off her lip. It's like, dude, chill it, put that back. Although it's pretty, I'd say it's pretty smooth. I have to give him credit.
I thought it was awkward, honestly.
I mean, she totally like.
She liked it.
Yeah,
she liked it, but I thought it was.
Jackie's not approving.
I thought it was a little try hard to me.
It was try hard.
Yeah.
I mean, when you only have like 500, or you have 300 people of the opposite sex, and there's only like 4 other people your age, I guess you kind of have to just put it out there.
Yeah.
But then that scene on the docks, which is what I want to dive into.
Yeah.
Scene on the docks that you want to dive into.
Unintentional.
Unintentional.
Yeah, we don't have a jar on this show.
As we should not.
No. But they're just sitting on the deck, and I don't know what he's going for right now. Like, does he want her or not?
I feel like he does want her, but he wants her to. He wants her to want him for him, you know.
Well,
but she's straight.
He has that whole conversation, or not that whole conversation, but he's just like, well, look, I joined the cadets for you, and I did all this stuff, and she's like, well, I didn't ask you to do any of that stuff, so I don't know. It's just him trying to impress her, I guess, and you know, and also like he sees her talking to like one dude for a second, and he's just like, you're with him. Like, he wasn't even like flirting with her. Like there was no like physical touch or anything like that at the bar. It was just like some guy she was talking to.
I wonder if it just basically all boils down to the fact that he knows that they can't, or as far as we understand the society, he can't wind up with her.
Yeah, or
because
he doesn't know it at the very least.
Yeah, because he is a lower decker. Even if he moves up via the officer's rank, I guess that they still couldn't wind up together.
True.
Which is like one of the worst things about this society.
I know,
Even
right?
as pretty as this guy is, he can't get the girl.
Fake Ryan Gosling cannot get the girl.
It's because he's fake. Only the real Ryan Gosling gets to choose.
Could get that girl.
He's the only one on that ship that would get to like be like, I picked that one. And we get more of like the rules. So, like we got with Galt and his beau, his married beau. But I still think I'm still holding out hope for Nora and James that they might get to stay together. You never know.
I think so. I think that's like our setup for the like young romance.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's star-crossed, and then like they're gonna be paired up.
Their West Side Story.
Oh my God, that was fantastic. And I'm just like, that is literally the most up-to-date reference that any of these people can have. Yeah. They're just like.
Yeah, I keep getting like Kate and Jack from like Titanic, especially when they're in the radiation machine and they're like touching each other's knee. I thought we were gonna get like a hand on the window at some point. Rose and Jack.
But
Kate's her real name. Sorry.
They even call it steamy, and they're just like, they don't even know how close the reference is that they could be making.
Right?
Yeah.
And then
Crazy
there's the
kids.
whole like below decks thing, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, he's from the lower class on the bottom, on the lower decks of the ship.
You,
she's like wearing all nice stuff up top, and she's like into like. All that's left is for him to draw her, really.
Draw me like one of your French girls.
Where is French, by the way? I have no idea.
But, all right. Really, really low on time. Let's jump into predictions.
Oh, I predict... Well, I'll make this into a prediction.
Your AFTERBUZZ TV.
I predict that Oren Aaron...
Galt
will really start investigating that piece of footage that was taken out. So
yes, we didn't. This is the problem with recapping a 2-hour episode.
Yeah, in an hour.
Yeah, I mean there's conspiracy stuff going on all over the place.
Right.
We still don't know who's behind Lorelei's death, who's behind. Well, we know who's behind the explosions, but like what's going to happen with that? Like, what is Harris up to? What is going on? We see in previews for next week that Stokes is going to get shown the ship.
Yes.
Can you imagine that?
That's what I'm waiting for. I'm like, I want to see what happens like when he finds out that when he, I guess, really is forced to encounter that.
Yeah. And they debate removing Christa from Ascension.
Right. Well, someone does. Harris certainly doesn't, because he's like, if she's gone, then there is no experiment, I guess.
Unless it's the right time and that she's at the point where now it's time to take her out and continue on with some other form of the experiment that removes her from Ascension.
Sure.
Maybe that's the 50-year mark. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that point of no return.
Sure, but if she is the one, then she's gonna have to go back and free everyone, which is probably gonna happen. I'm also, this is like just super bold, so I'm probably gonna be dead wrong.
Please take a swing.
I'm taking a big old hack and say that Viandra knows.
Interesting.
She knows what's going on.
Interesting.
And she somehow has some sort of link with Harris.
All right.
That's my guess.
Jackie, what are you thinking for tomorrow's big finale?
That was my only prediction, that they were gonna figure out what happened with the splice footage.
Sure.
Really?
I feel like that's gonna wind up being like more of an ongoing thing, because we know that they're building towards a series. This is like a trial run, like trying to tease us.
Right.
So I know we're not gonna get all the wrap up that we want in tomorrow's episode. But I'm thinking that my wild swing is gonna be that Christa, whatever crazy power she has to like blow stuff up, she's gonna end up blowing open like a wall of the ship or something, and basically like all of the passengers are then going to spill out into the regular world, or at least a bunch of them are going to. So you wind up with like a handful of your cast now on the outside and a handful on the inside to like to like really drive the drum, because I don't know where this show can go other than that. Like,
just if that happens, then it's got to be like that's the end of the show.
Yeah.
I think, pretty much.
Or unless her powers somehow activate, there's actually rockets on the ship, and they really get launched into space.
Okay.
I'm not predicting that. That would be insane. But that's gonna do it. Just gonna wrap it up, guys. So in the 24 hours before we're back to wrap up the finale, Isaac Johnson, where can people keep up with you?
You can keep up with me on Twitter at Isaac Johnson, Instagram The Isaac Johnson, also YouTube The Isaac Johnson. You can watch me act and pretend to beat up a girl in one of those videos.
I'm at 123Jackie_B on Twitter, at 123JackieB, all one word, on Instagram. Jackie is spelled JACQUE. I won't be here tomorrow night, but if it gets picked up for a series, hopefully it does, I'll be back.
Yeah. So SyFy, pick it up. You guys can follow me on Twitter at @ZachWilson, ThatZachWilson. And also here at AfterBuzz, a whole bunch of shows coming up in the spring. Helix, Better Call Saul, Agent Carter, bunch of other stuff coming back. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.